Hi guys, I'm Sifu Rob. Welcome back to Kung Fu at Home, where we believe self-mastery and self-cultivation starts at home. And the purpose of this show is to focus on three main areas to help you in martial arts training and Kung Fu training, whether you're just training it at home on your own or you're part of a program association already. This will definitely help you get the most out of your training. So we focus on three areas to do that. The first one being Kung Fu self-mastery, being the same thing. And the second one being self-defense, and the third one being overall health. So we want to work on all those areas. And today we're going to talk mostly about Kung Fu and mastery. A little bit of self-defense, but mostly pertains to mastering yourself, right? And it deals with speed and power. Although there's a lot of different techniques in martial art, in Prime Mantis Kung Fu especially, to overcome an opponent who's faster and stronger, speed and power is still of the utmost importance. It's very important to be powerful and to be strong. But a lot of people they misunderstand those, they confuse them, right? Power is not about just being really big in muscle. There's a lot of ways to generate power that that don't just rely on momentum of a swing and muscle mass, right? There's a lot more efficient ways to get power. That doesn't mean that we don't want to build up muscle mass a little bit, but having too much, is not a good thing. And also it still limits you in some ways, right? So building up muscle more and more and more is not the answer. It's the answer to looking, great at the beach, but it's not always the answer to be able to strike harder, right? The actual key to power is a balance. It's a balance of relaxation and tension together. And a lot of people miss that point, right? If you throw a strike out and you're really tense, and you Van Damme it after, where you're like, "Gah!" and you're tense after that the whole time, looks really cool. You're tense, and it shows off your muscle, your biceps. So you're like, the gym is that way. But the problem is, it makes it very difficult to have any kind of follow-up strike, whether that hand gets blocked and you need to roll something else, or if you need to hit again because that one didn't have enough power, and you want to always be, obviously we want to be always continuously attacking. We don't want to stop at one punch if it doesn't do the trick in self-defense. We want to make sure we keep moving when we need to, right? But if we're tense, we're not going to be able to do that. If we lock out our punch all the time, we're robbing a lot of energy from ourselves that we could be using for the next strike. So being able to relax when you throw a strike is very, very important. And if you can relax, you can move a lot faster. Speed doesn't come from being, tense and just having big muscles and swinging a whole lot. And in any case, that limits your power, because if you have a lot of tension, you have some tension that's working against the energy that you're trying to throw out. Whereas your arm is relaxed when you're throwing out a punch, it's going to have a nice flow behind it, and you're using your muscles efficiently to send it out without having other muscles fight against you, right? So that relaxation is where speed comes from. And power comes from the tension right at the end. So we don't want to be being tense the whole time. We want to only have our tension right at the very end of the punch when we actually land, right? When we're making impact. That's when it matters the most. But too much tension during the travel of the punch is going to slow it down. The nice thing about this, when you learn to do this and you learn to coordinate your movements just right to a high level of mastery, which is what we're trying to do here. We're not just trying to learn to punch to knock people out. We don't want to do that. We want to learn to punch so we can perfect ourselves, right? And when you reach a level of perfection where you can relax and tense basically within a split second when you need to, then you can start chaining a lot of different moves together and getting power behind each one, right? So there's a balance there. If you're too tense all the time, then you can't really loop a whole bunch of techniques together. You can't chain them together if you're too tense. But likewise, if you're too relaxed all the time and there's no tension at all, you're not even hitting, you're just flopping your hands around. You see a lot of guys do this. I don't know why, when they do certain styles of mantis, and they just kind of do a whole bunch of flaps like this around the guy's face. I don't know where it comes from, but I don't see how it would possibly work in combat, because you're not actually hitting, right? You're just kind of massaging the person's face. You need to hit with power. So when you have enough tension, you can hit and actually do damage when you need to. But there has to be that balance. You have to have relaxation when you move and tension on impact. You can't have it all tense or all relaxed, because you're not going to get the most efficient use of energy transferring from your arm into an opponent if you need it. So anyway, long story short, I've got a really good exercise, a really fun exercise for you guys to do in order to develop speed and power together. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that is in just a minute. So what we're working on today, I would like you to try, is the tea light candle drill. It's very easy. Tea light is not a very big candle, but that's not the point. This is supposed to be a fun exercise to teach us about speed and power, and it's also, in advanced stages, it's going to work a lot on our accuracy. Accuracy is also very important, right? It's not just about how many times you can hit and how fast, but where. And if your accuracy is very good, your strike will have a lot more effect than if it's not so good. right? So this is a very fun way to do that. So if you don't have this already, if you got somewhere in the house, if you've got a tea light, candle, you can go and grab it, and go grab a lighter, you know, and if you're under 18, don't do this or ask mom and dad's, you know, permission before you start lighting things on fire. Go grab that and set it up, and all you need is this much space and somewhere to stand. Try this out, okay? Go ahead and pause it and go grab it. I'll wait. I mean, I won't wait. You'll pause it and then, you know, come back and hit play. Go. Okay, all right, so now what I want you to do is, if you can use somewhere to mark where you are, it's a really handy thing. You want to get into a stance where, ideally if you're right-handed and you're striking with the right hand, I want you to put your right leg in front of you and then your left leg obviously back behind you. So you're a little bit of a staggered stance a little bit. Okay? Now it's important to mark your progress here. So if you're doing this somewhere in the house, do it where you can come back to the same spot later and know where the candle was and where your right foot is. So we're going to gauge your distance by your right foot, but it's also really important not to move your back foot. So if you shift weight and put your back foot off the ground, that's going to be cheating. You'll see what I mean in a second. Okay? So the first thing you do is start with a safe distance like this. Make sure it's on the edge of something where you're not going to, you know, hit the counter or whatever. You don't want to hit your hand, but somewhere close enough where you're just about an inch away from the candle. Okay? And then once you got that, you're just going to palm strike the candle and put the flame out. Very easy, okay? Good, okay. So once you've done that, just relight the candle, and now you mark yourself back whatever you want to do, 1 inch or 2 inches, and do it by your lead foot, okay? So let your lead foot, because this here will depend on a little bit on where you're standing, right? But if your both feet are flat, this is a really good gauge of where you are. And I don't want you to lean forward like this, keep your back up straight, so now we can challenge ourselves. So now move back just by an inch, okay? If you got something like tape on the ground, you can mark it, and then do it again, okay? Make sure again that your back foot doesn't come off the ground, because that'll steal distance forward a little bit. It'll cheat and it will defeat the purpose of the exercise. You're not doing this to prove to anyone anything to anyone else. You're just doing it to prove to yourself that you can relax properly and strike with power. Okay, so now move back another inch and then you try it again. Okay, whoops. There we go. Okay, so then we'll light it again and we'll try it again. Now, the more you go back, the more accuracy becomes an issue, okay? You'll find it very, very frustrating when you get to a certain point, but then I want you to think it's not just about power, it's about accuracy. And when you focus this right, it's not going to take as much power as you think. It's got to be at the right spot though. And sometimes we aim a little bit higher. So if you're not getting it, first aim a little bit lower. So focus your eyes maybe a couple inches below the target and then try. You'll be surprised at the result it gets, okay? So now we go a little further. Okay, there we go. Now I'll try a little further. I'm not going to bore you with this. I want you to practice on your own. I'm just going to, for fun, I'm going to scooch back and do one more. See, I got to go a little lower. There we go. Okay, so practice that. Go back a little bit further and further every time. When you get to a spot where you find have a hard time and you're having to strike 5 or 6 times before you blow it out, then just stay there and practice that for a day or two, and then start moving your way back a little bit further. I hope you guys have fun with that. I enjoyed making this video a lot. I hope you enjoyed training with it. Don't forget, it's only as good as your practice, so you got to keep doing it. You got to practice every day or every other day. If your arm gets sore from doing that candle punching, that's good. It means you're having a lot of fun and you're building up proper strength in your muscle, right? In all your arm muscles. But if your arm really hurts, sore because you couldn't stop doing it, then just take a break for a day or two and then get back to it, right? You want to keep it consistent though. You never want to, push yourself too hard where you got to take a whole week off. That's not good. You want to keep your training, so you're always pushing yourself, but also you want to train today so you can train tomorrow, right? That means if your legs are sore, that's okay. The next day you can work on your arms, and if your arms are sore, next day you can work on legs. But you never want to make it so you have to, spend more than a few days in recovery, right? Because the stuff is only as good as our practice. So Kung Fu is only as good as, our actions and the stuff that we keep doing. So you got to make sure you keep doing it. So keep up with this. Now, next week we're going to work a little more on relaxing. If that tension versus relaxation is tough for you because you're very tense, we're going to work a lot on that next week. Next week we're going to work on some Qigong, some proper breathing, because a lot of people still don't really know how to breathe properly. Everyone knows how to breathe, I know that. If you're here, you know how to breathe, but breathing properly is a little bit different. So we're going to cover that because that's a very important part of Kung Fu that a lot of people leave out. So we'll cover that. We'll see you next time.